I want to start off by asking you a question. And my question for you right now is, what are you looking for? When it comes to your life, what are you looking for? Are you looking for opportunities? Are you looking for possibilities? Are you looking for compelling reasons to keep pushing forward with your business? Are you looking for a compelling reason to keep fighting for your relationship? Or are you looking for some reasons to be able to turn your financial situation around? Are you looking to change things around? Or are you looking for excuses? Are you looking for reasons why things are not going to work out? Are you looking for reasons to be disappointed? Are you looking for reasons in which you can begin to beat yourself up and feel as if you're just not adequate? And so if you're a note taker, I want you to write this down, because this is something that I need you to get. And so it's a very simple statement, but it's a profound statement. I want you to write it down. And here's what I say to you: whatever you are looking for, you will find. And I'm going to repeat that one more time. Whatever you are looking for, you will find. So if you're looking for opportunities, trust and believe you will find opportunities. If you're looking for places to take a chance on yourself, on your dreams, on your goals, you will find those chances. If you're looking for some uplifting people, some powerful people, some people that you can put on your team, some people that you can surround yourself with, if you're looking for a mentor, trust and believe when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But it also stands true that if you're looking for excuses, if you're looking for excuses to not move forward on your goals and your dreams, trust and believe you will find them. If you're looking for reasons to now become disgruntled within your marriage, if you're looking for reasons to decide that you want to go the other direction, if you're looking for reasons to feel complacent and come up with excuses as to why you can't get out of debt, as to why you can't lose the weight, as to why you should continue to stay disappointed, as to why you can't find a job, as to why you can't turn your life around, let me tell you this: trust and believe you will find it. And you say, well, Andy, how do you know? I know because here's what I know: that whatever you are looking for, whether it's good or bad, you will find it. And so maybe perhaps you didn't think about that. And so maybe you didn't even realize that you've been looking for the wrong things. That maybe you haven't realized that the reason why you haven't acted on your goals and your dreams is because you've been finding reasons as to why. And so you've been looking for excuses. And so you've come up with the excuse that I don't have the resources yet, or this is not something I can afford at the moment, or I'll just wait because I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I don't have the right support. I'm just going to wait till I have this much money in my bank account. I'm going to wait until this person starts supporting me. I'm going to wait until this person comes into my business. And what I'm saying to you is, if you just continue to look and look and look for the wrong things, and look for reasons not to get started, and look for reasons to delay your goals and your dreams, look for reasons to be disappointed, look for reasons to decide not to go back on the saddle and continue to go after this dream that you have, this dream that maybe perhaps things didn't work out for you 2 years ago, a year ago, a month ago. And so you've been looking for excuses as to why not going at it again. You've been looking for excuses as to why you shouldn't submit another application. You've been looking for excuses as to why you shouldn't go back and get the degree. You've been looking for the excuses as to why you shouldn't get the coaching. You've been looking for the excuses. And I want to remind you this: that whatever you're looking for, you will find. And so I had to learn that the hard way. And so I'm not afraid to share this. You know, I was blessed and fortunate enough that when I went to school at Florida State University, that I was fortunate enough that I got an academic scholarship that paid for both my undergraduate degree as well as my master's degree. And I remember that I was in a relationship I was with this individual for a couple of years. And I remember there was a couple of times in which she wanted me to really just show that I was committed. And so one of the things that she said to me at one point is, hey, let's get a cell phone together. And sure enough, at that moment, I got to be honest with you, I was avoiding any type of that level of commitment. So of course I said, no, that's not a good idea. And so every time she introduced something that would maybe perhaps tie us into a more committed relationship, I was always finding a way out of it. And then so finally she was deciding to continue on with her education, and she applied for a private loan, and unfortunately she didn't get approved for the private loan. And then so she approached me again, and she asked me, hey, would you be interested in co-signing on this student loan? And so normally my answer would be absolutely not, but I don't know what got into me that time. I don't know if I was feeling a little guilty for all the other times that I said no. I don't know if it was because it was related to something positive. I don't know if I had some selfish intentions tied into it, but this particular time I said, okay, I'll do it. And so I co-signed on this student loan. And so the game plan is, okay, we've got this student loan, and she's going to go ahead and use this student loan for school. And I too was going to use a portion of it because it was a private student loan to do one or two of my investments. And then once she graduated, she would pay her portion of the student loan and I would go ahead and pay mine. And so needless to say, we got to a part where we decided to go our separate ways. And so I assumed that although we went our separate ways, that she would still make her portion of the student loan payment. And unfortunately, she had a different thing in mind. Her thing is out of sight, out of mind. We're no longer together, so I'm no longer paying for the student loan. And so I can tell you this, that I remember at the beginning of every single month having to log on to the computer, going to SallyMae.com, and thinking about the fact that I graduated from college with no student loan debt. And now I was looking at a $42,000 student loan payment, student loan principal, and I was going to have to make payments for a couple $100 every single month. And if I went according to their payment plan, this would happen for another 30 years. So needless to say that every single month when I got behind that computer and I had to make that student loan payment, my blood started to boil. I mean, I was frustrated. I would call her up at the beginning of each month and I would just read her rights, as they would say. I would remind her that, hey, this is not what you committed to. This is not what you said you were going to do. How could you do something like this? How are you going to do something? I mean, don't you feel guilty? What kind of person does this? And every single month I would get upset. Every single month my blood would begin to boil. And every single month I was just focusing and looking for reasons as to why it wasn't my fault, looking for reasons as to why this person must be so evil, looking for reasons as to why she was the cause of this financial pain, this financial burden. And then one day it dawned on me. I went through one of my regular rants and I realized how frustrated that I was getting. And I realized that when I hung up the phone and I was speaking to our mutual friends, that she didn't seem to be very concerned about the student loan. And then I started to look at the situation a little differently. And then I started asking myself, wait a second, Andy, wait a second here. Whose fault is this? And then I started to put things into perspective. And here's what I realized, that number one, when she first applied for that student loan, what they did was they ran her credit. And when they ran her credit, they made the determination that, hey, based off of this individual's income at the moment and based off of this individual's credit at the moment, there's a very great likelihood that this individual is not going to be able to pay us back. And because that person is most likely not going to pay us back, we need a sucker, in this case, Andy Henriquez, who's willing to co-sign on this student loan voluntarily. We're not going to force him. No one's holding a gun to his head. But what he's basically saying is, in the event that this person does not pay back, that we have already determined is most likely not going to pay back this student loan, then if that happens, then you, Mr. Henriquez, will be 100% on the line. And the more that I started to think about that, the more that I began to look at things for what they really were. And the less I started to look at excuses and reasons as to why this wasn't my fault. The less that I started to look for reasons as to why she was such and such a quote unquote evil person. The less that I began to look at why this situation was entirely because of the mere fact that she was just a person who couldn't keep her word, the more that I realized that I was looking for the wrong thing. You see, I was looking for excuses. I was looking for reasons to not accept accountability. And so what I realize is this: whatever it is that you're looking for, you will find. And so for about 3 years, that's what I was looking for. And for 3 years, I gave myself the frustration month after month. For 3 years, I thought about this situation at the beginning of every single month. For 3 years, I didn't want to accept any responsibility for it. And then all of a sudden, I started to look in a different place. And when I looked there, what I found was that I was playing a role in it. When I looked there, what I found was that it wasn't entirely her fault. And so here's my question for you. Whatever your situation is right now, whatever it is that has gotten you upset, whatever it is that you found that you've fallen short on, whatever it is that you know that you need to act on, but you just haven't acted. Whatever it is that you know in your heart that you need to put yourself in position to make some things happen. Here's my question for you. What are you looking for? And before you answer that question, I want to remind you this, that whatever you're looking for, you will find. So have you been looking for excuses? Have you been looking for reasons as to why you shouldn't get that degree? Have you been looking for reasons as to why this situation is not your fault? It's the economy. It's your past boss. It has everything to do with everyone else but you. Have you been looking for reasons to keep delaying your dreams? I don't have the money. I'm too old. I'm too young. It's not the proper timing. I'm going to wait next month. I'm going to wait next week. I'm going to wait next year. Are you looking and looking and looking, and in the process of looking, you find yourself doing nothing? That's the question. The question is, what are you looking for? And so maybe perhaps no one shared this with you. Maybe perhaps you just didn't know that whatever it is that you're looking for, you will find. And so some of you remember I took a trip to Kenya, Africa. And I remember when I was in Africa, I visited a town by the name of Isiolo. And Isiolo is out in the outskirts. And many of the people who are out in Isiolo, they're not like the people who are living in Nairobi. Nairobi is almost like any modern day city where you see beautiful buildings and you see regular homes and marketplaces and so forth. When you go out to Isiolo, I mean, you are seeing just the absolute desert. And there are moments that we went off the dirt road, and I mean, as far as you could see, it was nothing but desert. And you're driving through this desert and you're saying to yourself that there's absolutely no way that people could be living here. And then as we are off on the dirt road for about 2 hours, we would finally arrive. And I wouldn't believe it. There was these tiny little huts. And then we would see and we would pull up and we would meet these different tribes. And as we were talking to the people and we had somebody who was there who was translating on our behalf, that these people were so pleasant that they would invite us into their little huts. And so I would remember walking into one of the huts, and I remember I had to duck my head to walk in. And once I got into the hut, I would look around. The walls of the hut, the huts were probably the size of the average room. And I'm not talking about a master bedroom. I'm talking about the smallest room in a regular house, maybe about 300 square feet at the most. And the walls to the hut were made out of mud and cow manure and some clay and some things that they created to create this wall. And the ground was pretty much just a dirt floor. There was no furniture. And I remember going into the huts, and I remember speaking to the tribe members, and I remember looking and trying to disguise the shock, the culture of shock for me, and the perspective of me realizing that this is crazy. And I'm thinking about the things that we take for granted in the United States. And I'm looking at somebody who's essentially living in this little hut with no furniture. But here's the amazing thing, that although these people were living in these tiny huts, although the walls of the hut were made out of dirt and water and cow manure and mud, and there was no furniture. When I walked into the hut, let me tell you what I experienced. What I experienced was joy. And so it was amazing that in the middle of these living conditions, in the middle of the little bit that they had, those people were looking for joy. They were looking for reasons to smile. They were looking for reasons to be happy. And trust and believe this, guess what? They found it. Because it was what they were looking for in spite of their circumstances. Because it was what they were looking for, as opposed to me contrasting, recalling being in one of my acquaintances' houses and sitting in this living room of this house that's about 10,000 square feet. And out in the driveway is a Mercedes-Benz S500 and a Range Rover and a beautiful pool in the backyard and 20-foot inch high ceilings. And remember having a conversation with that friend and the friend still feeling as if they don't have enough and still upset about a deal that may potentially not go through and feeling as if that the house that they're in now is just not good enough. And so here I am, I'm just thinking about the contrast. Here's this person in this hut who was looking for joy and they found it. And here's this person in this beautiful home with these expensive cars, and they're looking for discontentment. They were looking for reasons to not be satisfied. They were looking for reasons as if why things just weren't good enough, and yet and still they also found it. And so what that taught me is this: regardless if you're the one living in the hut, or if you're the one living in the mansion, or if you're anything in between, whatever you are looking for, you will find it. So I'm going to ask you the question again. What are you looking for? Yeah. What is it that's got you playing small? What is it that has you feeling as if you're not enough? What is it that has kept you from moving forward on your goals and your dreams? What is it that's kept you from getting the coaching? What is it that's kept you from writing the book? What is it that's kept you from starting the business? What is it that has kept you from fighting for your marriage? What is it that's kept you from losing the weight? What is it that has kept you from finally once and for all getting out of the debt? What is it that has kept you from crossing the finish line? What is it that has kept you from living up to your potential? What is it that has kept you from pursuing your goals and your dreams? What are you looking for? What are you looking for? Because maybe they didn't tell you. Yeah, maybe they forgot to tell you that whatever you are looking for, you're going to find it. And so it's so amazing because as you, many of you know, I'm getting married in October in Mexico. And both my fiance and I, we did a premarital class. And one of the assignments was that we read a book. And so we had an opportunity to meet one-on-one with the pastor, and he was saying that, you know, marriage is something that you're going to have to fight for. It's one of these things that it's going to require compromise, it's going to require good communication, and it's challenging. And obviously it is, because that's why the divorce rate is so high. And he said, but if more couples took the time to work and put the time and effort in planning for their marriage just as much as they do for their wedding, then many of the marriages would survive. And he said, so here's this book that I want you guys to read. And so he said, here's the name of the book. I want you both to read it. And so, of course, my fiance right away, she went out and bought the books, right? Shoved my book in my face and said, hey, you better start reading, because I'm reading. By the second session, she was like, you know, probably 3/4 of the book done. And I think I was just starting chapter 1. And so it's so funny was, you know, I finally started reading this book. And of course, I'm nowhere close as far as she is. And as I'm going through the book, I'm highlighting. And as she's going through the book, she's highlighting. So one day I get to the table and I realize there's my book and there's her book. And both of the books are sitting next to each other. And so I pick up one book and I notice there's some underlines and so forth, and these little squiggly lines. I said, wait a second, I don't underline like that. That looks like Cassandra's underlining, right? So I pulled the other book out, and of course the other book's mine. But just, you know, I'm like, just out of curiosity, let me open up the pages that we've both read so I could see what she underlined versus what I underlined. And it was so amazing. As I'm flipping through these pages, we're both reading the exact same book, the exact same words on the pages. And it was amazing that we were underlining completely different things. And so when you ask yourself the question, well, why is it? How could two people be reading the same book and be underlining completely different things? And so here's why. Because although we're reading the same book, understand this, that as we're reading, we're looking for different things. And so here's the contrast. There are two people who are going through the exact same experience. Two people who are going through the exact same story. Two people who have lost their jobs. Two people who want to go to the next level. Two people who want to grow their business. Two people who want to lose weight. Two people who want to fight for their marriage. Two people who want to start this amazing journey of pursuing their goals and their dreams. And yet and still they'll produce two entirely different results. And yet and still when you speak to them, you'll have two entirely different conversations. And then when you look at their lives and you say, well, what is the difference? How is it that these two people are going through the exact same experience, and yet there's two completely different outcomes? One of them decided to move on their dreams, and the other one comes up with all the reasons why they shouldn't. One of them decided to start the business, and the other one came up with all the reasons why they shouldn't. One of them decided to fight for their marriage, and the other one decided to get a divorce. One of them decided and is doing everything that they could to get out of debt, and the other one is accumulating more debt. One of them is finding joy with living in a hut, and the other one is finding discontentment being in a mansion. How is it that two people could be going through similar situations and yet and still have completely different outcomes? And when you ask yourself the question, here's the answer why. They're looking for different things. And so I'm going to ask you one more time. What are you looking for? Because whatever you're looking for, you will find. And so what I'm hoping you're going to do is start being a little more mindful of what it is that you're looking for in life. You know, you've heard the expression before. They say, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Here's what I want you to also add. Be careful of what you're looking for, because you just might find it. Be careful of what you're looking for, because you just might find it. And so because we know that, I want to challenge you to look for the things that you want. Look for the opportunities. Look for the possibilities. Look for the way to make this thing work. Look for the resources to grow your business. Look for what you can move around and make things work so that you can move forward on this thing that you keep putting off. Look for some compelling reasons to stay in the game, as opposed to some weak excuses as to why you need to clock out. Look for the right people to put on your team, as opposed to looking at all the wrong people who have been on your team. Look at what the future holds, as opposed to looking at what has taken place in the past. Look for everything that you're looking to accomplish. Why, Andy? Why? Why? Because whatever it is you're looking for, you will find. This has been Andy Henriquez reminding you to always show up for your life. Because if you don't, ladies and gentlemen, no one else will.